Welcome to Make Math Happen, the podcast where we move with purpose and plan with power to make math meaningful for every single learner. I'm your host, Lanisha, math coach, educator, and advocate for teaching that centers students, builds capacity, and disrupts the patterns that leaves kids behind. It's August, y'all, and that means it's back to soul, back to school. This month, we're leaning into what it really takes to start strong. We'll talk about what it means to get better faster and why speed isn't the goal, clarity is. I'll break down the plan framework I use to help educators make math happen every single day. We'll explore how anchor charts can do more than decorate. They can make connections visible and make learning stick. And I'll share how I stay organized for impact because a clear system frees you up to show up for kids. Plus, on August 31st, I'm bringing you a powerful interview with my math friend, Tony Hardy. This episode is going to be entitled Math Moves That Matter, Building Capacity One Lesson at a Time. You will not want to miss it, okay? And this season, I'm doing more than just talking. I'm giving you the tools to take action. Each episode comes with a free companion document to help you reflect, apply, and make moves that matter in your practice. Check the show notes or head to my website to grab yours. Let's make this year the one where you don't just plan to teach, you plan to transform. Let's make math happen, friends. Welcome back to Make Math Happen. And you know, the podcast is for educators who are ready to move with purpose and plan with power. Hopefully, by now, you know who I am. I'm Lanisha, and today we're kicking off August and season 3. This episode is designed to help you start the year not just strong, but strategic. This episode is inspired by phase 1 of Get Better Faster, which focuses on what happens before students ever sit in those desks. And if you're listening before the first day or even the first week, you're already ahead of the game. Let's talk about 5 high leverage moves you can make to set the tone, to set the culture, and set yourself and your students up for success. Number 1, here's the truth. Behavior is taught. It's not just expected. And before students can be successful in your content, they need to be successful in your space, in your classroom. This means you must plan and practice the routines you want to see, not just with students, but also on your own. Map out every key routine, how they're going to enter the classroom, how they're going to turn in work, how they're asking for help, how they're transitioning from one task to the next. And for each routine, write out, what am I doing as the teacher? What are the students doing? What happens if this is not followed? And let's be clear, we're not talking about catching kids doing something wrong. We want to empower them to self-correct and take ownership. And this can sound like, Thomas, what are you doing right now? What's our expectation? What needs to change for you to meet that expectation? Just by asking those 3 prompting questions, we are now getting students to think about the things that they're doing and the connection to what is it that we expect them to do to be successful in our classrooms, right? We're pushing it back to them. It's not a, I got you. It's a check in on yourself. Are you doing what you know we agreed for you to be doing? Okay. Consistency is going to build that safety that we know we need in our classroom. Consequences should be tiered, predictable, and aligned to your school's handbook. But what you reinforce positively is what will multiply. So again, I just have to emphasize that school handbook is so critical. It's so important because oftentimes we are operating out of chaos. Sometimes we're operating out of structure. We're not following the structure, and it creates frustration and overwhelm for everybody involved. Okay. Now, I don't know how you're going to feel about this next part, but in most schools, there's one principal and then there's 1 to maybe 3 administrators, depending on how big your school is, right? There could be more. But think about that in the grand scheme of things. So I'm gonna paint a picture for you. At the school that I'm going to be coaching at next year, there's 1 principal and then there's 3 assistant principals. That is a total of 4 administrators. Well, we have almost 1,200 kids, right? And three grade levels. It's a middle school, three grade levels. And we have three teachers, three math teachers on every single grade level. So if I'm thinking just about math, that is 9 sets of teachers that have day to day for at least 60 minutes impact on a single student. Whereas an administrator, depending on their schedule, they don't have as many touch points as you do. So who is the real game changer in the classroom? It's you. It's you. It's the person who is sitting or standing, hopefully standing, at the front of that classroom, at the side of that classroom, at the back of that classroom, because you're all over that classroom. You are the one who holds the key. Okay. So not only do I want you to think about how can you empower students to self-correct and take that ownership, I need you to practice the rollout. How will you introduce them to this routine? What should I do? How are you going to provide them with the instructions? What are you going to say? And what will you do when students don't get it right? This is not a one and done. Repetition to mastery is the goal. You have to train you first. Okay. So if they don't get it right the very first time, it is not oh, well, let's just move on to something else because I know I got to get to this curriculum. Yes, you do have to get to the curriculum, but you're not going to be able to teach well if your students are not safe in the classroom. And what comes before safety? The routines, the procedures. We need to make sure that they have those down pat. So if they don't get it right the first time, guess what, baby? We're about to run it back. We're about to run it back. We're going to do it again until they get it. Okay. And I know sometimes it may feel like, oh gosh, this is such cringe to have them to stand up and line up again or to have them pass those papers again. You're going to thank yourself around Thanksgiving. You're going to thank yourself around spring break. You're going to thank yourself during those time periods when it seems like the next break is so far away. You're going to thank yourself for taking the time to make sure that kids learned those procedures and those routines, to make sure that they understood what the expectations were and they respected them. They respected you and they respected themselves in the space that you guys are creating together. Okay, so that was number one. So again, number one is we're designing and rolling out routines and procedures. Okay, so number two, we have to stand and speak with purpose in our space. This is not about performing. You're not putting on a show. You're not acting. You're not working towards your Oscar nominee. This is just about presence. Okay. When giving directions or managing transitions, you need to square those shoulders up. You need to stand tall and still. You're going to use a formal register so that students know directions are to follow. It is about your tone. Is it about your posture? It's about your word choice. All of that matters, friend. So you're signaling to them that this is a moment for focus. Clarity begins with how we show up in the space. So don't rush, don't shrink, own your space and your message. I've seen this too many times in the classrooms of teachers that I support where they really didn't take that time to design those routines and procedures. And they definitely didn't take that time to assert themselves in the space. And this isn't about I'm in charge and you have to listen to me. It's not about that. But at the end of the day, we are the adult in the room who are responsible for the safety of the kids there, right? We need for every kid in that classroom to feel safe. So if we cannot call those kids to attention and they are responding in the way that we want them to, there's a problem. Kids are not going to feel safe there. So again, in the classrooms that I've supported, there have been teachers who have lost control of their classrooms. Students just doing whatever they want to do. The teacher is talking, the kids are talking too. The teacher is trying to get their attention. The kids are doing whatever it is that they want to do. It is draining to all of the resources in the building, right? Because it's not just draining on that teacher in the classroom. It's draining on the safe schools coordinator. It's draining on administrators. It's draining on teammates, right? It's draining on the teachers on your hallway because everybody now has to pick up that slack. It is what it is. Everybody now, when you do not assert yourself, when you don't have that strong voice and let them know that you're the adult in the room who's going to make sure that everybody here is safe, when you don't do that, everybody else's classroom is impacted. Some people can handle that impact, and sometimes you can't necessarily see it as much. But everybody's room is impacted, even the person on your hallway who has the strongest classroom management, the person who has it all together. They're still going to have to take a little bit of extra time to maybe get kids to settle down if they're transitioning from your classroom. So if it was me, I wouldn't want to be the person that people are complaining about the kids coming from my class because they are just so rowdy. They are disrespectful. No, I wouldn't want to be that person. So instead, I'm going to make sure, number one, that those routines and procedures are in place and they're practiced to proficiency. And then number two, I'm going to have that strong voice because I need you to know that I'm the person that is in charge of your safety. And I'm going to stand and speak with purpose every single time. Number three, build the foundation of an effective lesson. You didn't get into teaching to decorate, or at least I hope not. Okay. So classroom setup is nice. I'm seeing everybody on TikTok talking about setting up their classroom. I get it. I love what you guys are doing in your classrooms because when students come to school, they should be able to walk into a space that they feel proud of, that they know their teacher feels proud of. I don't like walking in a classroom where there's trash everywhere. You can tell that the teacher doesn't care about the space, but we can't let that take over, right? Set you a time, set you a time limit, a restriction. My classroom needs to be set up by this time. And then I'm shifting my thinking to something else because learning design is everything. Classroom setup is nice, but learning design is everything. Okay. And we have to start with clear, precise objectives. We need to know what is it that we expect students to know and be able to do. You want to always make sure that this is aligned to your state standards. Use your unpacking documents if you have them. And those objectives should always be driven by data, what your students need to learn. Okay. So those are the things that you want to start with. Clear, precise objectives, make sure they're aligned to the state standards, and they're driven by data. This year, I am introducing a weekly planning schedule with the teachers I support. Monday, I want them to focus on the activate and the closure portions of the lesson. So, what does that mean? Activate, that's when our lesson is getting started. We're launching the kids into the learning, we're getting them excited, or we're hooking them. And then the closure is obviously exactly what it sounds like, right? That's how we're closing our exit ticket, our closing activity. We're starting there because we are beginning with how I want to hook you and then how I want you to leave my classroom. And hopefully you're leaving better than you came, right? On Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to plan the instruct portion. This is our whole group, collaborative work, and our independent practice. These things are important, right? And the reason why I've separated them in this way is because obviously our opening and our closing, they should be related, right? Whatever we're setting the tone with for the day should be connected to how we're going to be ending our day. And then instruct is how we're flowing, how we are transitioning from one activity to the next, how we're keeping those kids engaged. You want to plan your success criteria and what you'll do if students don't meet it. Okay. So what does success look like? What are your exemplars? What are you going to be reflecting on to know that when I'm moving about the room, little Johnny has it. Kevin has it. Rebecca has it. Lanisha, I may have to pull her to the side, but before I make that determination, let me ask her a question. Okay. So that also includes having those questions ready as well. Every Tuesday, my team and I, we're going to meet as a grade level to review the data and plan for intervention because the next step matters just as much as the first. Now, I've told you guys in several episodes that we can't fix in small group what didn't happen in whole group. So that whole group, that tier 1 instruction has to be top tier. You hear me? So my goal in mapping out this schedule in this way is more time to work at work so you can rest at home. It won't be perfect, but I'll do all I can to make that possible. Okay. So again, it's so important that we take the time while we're at school to really focus on being the best that we can at school. And I know there's several things that pull us in different directions, right? We might have parents coming in, we might have to cover classrooms and things of that nature. But let me just tell you this. One of the things that I am really rallying for my teachers is to protect their planning time, because I know that the more well prepared they are to stand up there in front of those students, the less people who are going to call out, right? The less people, because sometimes when people be calling out, they really ain't sick. Let's be real about that. We really not sick. We sick of some kids. We sick of some things that are happening at school, but we're really not physically sick. But if all of us are working together to make sure that when we step up there, that those routines and procedures are tight, that we have that strong voice, and that we're planning that lesson, we're building that foundation of the effective lesson, I feel like more people are going to come to work. I feel like more people are going to come to work, and you're not going to even have to worry about covering any classes anyway. Okay. Now, here's a pro tip. As you are starting the school year, my suggestion is aim to stay 2 weeks ahead while the pace is manageable. So at the beginning of the year, again, classroom decor, chef's kiss, I love what you're doing, but make sure that you're setting aside ample time to create at least 2 weeks of lesson plans. And another thing that I'm going to insert in here, okay? I am not a person who wants to see pages upon pages upon pages of lesson plans, okay? When I think about the lesson plan, and I'm going to get into that in a second, when I think about the lesson plan is for the administrator and the coach and people who are coming into your classroom to have an idea of what you're teaching, the things that the students are expected to learn, what those success criteria look like, questions they can even ask students, right? They're not going to see all of the detail. That's yours. All of the detail is yours. So when we're talking about staying ahead 2 weeks, we're talking about those big picture lesson plans, right? Those big picture lesson plans, and you'll still have the room to create those plans with that additional detail as you're moving throughout the week. Okay. I just felt like I needed to say that because I didn't want you to get into a tizzy. Okay. So again, I also want you to think about or consider how you'll work with in-class support. So if you have teachers who are pushing into your classroom, whether they are exceptional children support, whether they are academically and intellectually gifted support, think about, are you guys co-teaching, right? Are you parallel teaching? Are you using stations? What type of setup are you using and plan for that? Communicate that, okay? I hate, I don't really want to use the word hate, but here we are, okay? I hate going into classroom and they got all these adults in there, and the adults are not being used to that we're not optimizing their presence. I don't like that, okay? We're in a classroom and we already outnumbered by the kids. So if I have an extra set of hands and feet, a brain in the classroom with me, baby, I'm about to put that thing to work. Okay. So when we're planning, when we're meeting in our PLC, let's talk about how we can best use and support each other as we get these kids to the goal. We have to be clear on structure early because that structure matters. So number 3, again, was build the foundation of an effective lesson. Number 4 is now you got to internalize that plan. Planning on paper is not enough, right? Planning on paper is not enough. I know it feels like it's enough. I know people who say they've been teaching for years who feel like they don't ever have to plan again because they've been doing it so long. And for some people, maybe that is the case. For a lot of people, it is not. Okay. It is important that we rehearse out loud. That means practice your key directions and your transitions. It means time yourself so that you can stay on pace. It means anticipate student misunderstandings and pre-plan responses. Y'all, I know that it's going to feel awkward to be talking to an empty classroom, but presenters do it, performers do it. And trust me, your future self will thank you. Because here's the thing, we will complain about not having enough time to do one thing or the other when we have not practiced to be able to do that one thing or the other in the time that we're given. How do you expect to meet the goal if you have not practiced the behaviors? If you have not practiced the things that are going to allow you to meet the goal? So another thing that comes to mind for me is when we are in classrooms and we get frustrated about a student, because I've seen this now, we'll get frustrated about a student not getting something that we've said. Well, did you say it clearly? Did you have any visual models? Did you did you ask questions? Did you have the questions prepared? Did you know exactly what you were going to say, or were you fumbling with your words and then having to stop and then recorrect and then restate? Y'all, come on now. Adults have short attention spans. Adults check out quickly. So imagine what children are doing, especially when your speech is disorganized. They checking out, baby. They didn't hear you. We have to be clear. We have to be clear. That is how we maximize our student outcomes, is by being clear. The clearer your message the first time, the higher the chance that the students will get it the first time. And that was number 4, internalizing your plan. All right, y'all, we've reached number 5. Number 5 is make success a shared vision. This last move is less about you as a teacher and more about them, the students, okay? From the first day, talk to students about what success looks like, not just in your class, but in their learning journey. Help them make sense of it. Help them see the personal effect of it. Okay? Don't help them see what it means to you. You need to help them see what it would mean for them. Make it visual, make it concrete, refer to it often. That shared vision. Refer to it often. Celebrate when they get there and show them how to get back when they don't. Okay? Let students know I'm not here just to teach math, I'm here to teach you. And that means we're building this together. Okay? We're building this together. I don't want us to fall into the pattern of saying, well, I taught that. Well, you teaching something and students learning something, not always the same thing. Okay? Not always the same thing. So you're not here just to teach math or just to teach ELA or science. You're here to teach the student that's in front of you. And I know it's not always going to be easy. I get that. Okay? I get that. Now, before I wrap up today's episode, there's a little bonus. There's a little bonus here. Get comfortable with meeting with your POC. The reality is we need to meet with one another. We need to talk about the successes. We need to talk about the opportunities in our classrooms. We need to talk about the things that we can glean from each other. Get comfortable meeting with your professional learning community, because it is together that so much more can happen. Okay? It's together that so much more can happen. So please, the final thoughts for today is 1, design and roll out routines. So that doesn't mean just write them. We got to practice them. We got to think about how are we going to introduce it? How are we going to step in when students don't initially meet it? Number 2, stand and speak with purpose. You are the adult in the room. You are responsible for their safety. So make sure that you are constantly and consistently creating a safe space. Build solid student-centered lessons. Start with the end in mind, okay? Think about that pacing, okay? Internalize your instruction. That means now you got to rehearse, timestamp, get yourself clear and concise, and then share the vision of success. Each one of these is a message, a move that tells students this space is built for your growth. Okay. And to help you take these moves even further, I've created a resource for this episode. Go ahead and head over to the show notes or join my subscription list, right? And it'll end up in your mailbox anyway, so that we can keep the learning going. August is about alignment, and every move you make now will either create the momentum or cost you energy later. So let's make math happen on purpose, with power, and for every single learner in your room. Until next time,